How to make sure you learn Japanese in 2021. Many people will undoubtedly have plans to learn Japanese next year. New Year's is, after all, a time where people tend to think of their goals. It's easy to just think of your goals as opposed to acting on them, especially since it's something in the future. When thinking of learning Japanese, you imagine yourself being able to understand and speak the language. This is part of the problem. You don't imagine yourself doing the work right now. If you think about it, there is no future, there's only right now. The future is just a concept of things to come that don't yet exist. If you're to learn Japanese, you need to take the goal of learning the language and bring it into action in the present. This means starting right now. NANI? To help facilitate the actions that you need to take in order to make sure you learn Japanese, here are some ideas to move you forward. First of all, there's no need to wait until the new year to get going. You start right now. If you're completely fresh, start learning hiragana and katakana and learn the sounds of the language. Go to ThoughtCo right now. I have a link in the description, and start practicing the sounds of the language. Learn how to write hiragana first and then katakana as well. And then you never use the Latin alphabet to learn Japanese ever again. You will just associate the sounds of another language with the characters, and your pronunciation won't be as good as it could have been. Instead, emulate Japanese speakers. Once you know the kana and you're comfortable with the basic sounds, you can move on to common phrases and words. ThoughtCo has some good examples to emulate here as well. Also, the link for this is also in the description. And they also have some simple lessons to just get you started. So just go there right now if you're a complete beginner. After that, I think you should download the Anki flashcard app to help you memorize words. Then go to Fluent Forever and pick up the Japanese pronunciation trainer. It's around $12 right now, but you can get it with the top 625 words used in the Japanese language for around $20. And it's worth it, trust me. You will also get these words as flashcards that you can use directly in Anki. Practice your new words daily and you'll be well on your way. The link to this is also in the description, by the way. And in addition to this, you should also order Remembering the Kanji by James Heisig. It's a great book that teaches you how to memorize kanji in a way that's much more efficient than any other system I've come across. Kanji and vocabulary are the two biggest obstacles to learning Japanese, so start tackling them early. Two other books worth considering are Genki, a textbook that will teach you the basics of the language, and a dictionary of basic Japanese grammar. Another great resource for text and audio is link.com. Head on over there when you've explored the basics. Once you've started, your next step is to make sure that you continue. You need to make learning Japanese a habit. Learning a language isn't just one thing, but rather a combination of various activities. Once you've started, your next step is to make sure that you continue. You need to make learning Japanese a habit. Learning a language isn't just one thing, but rather a combination of various activities. These activities fall into four main categories: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. In practice, these categories overlap. If you're speaking, you're also practicing listening. If you're writing, you're also reading what you wrote. These four categories can be further divided into input and output. Input consists of reading and listening, and output consists of speaking and writing. Both are important, but most of your study time should consist of input. The reason for this is that you can't express yourself without having a sufficient amount of input to draw upon. You need to learn a part of it in order to make use of it yourself. The better you get, the more time you can spend expressing yourself.
What does katana mean?
It means Japanese sword.
The reason for this is that you can't express yourself without having a sufficient amount of input to draw upon. You need to learn a part of it in order to make use of it yourself. The better you get, the more time you can spend expressing yourself. But the main way to learn new things and consolidate what you've already learned will be input. As long as you want to improve, you need to continue reading and listening. There are of course other things that overlap between these categories. Learning grammar and vocabulary are also not directly related to these, but deserve their own special attention. You will of course encounter both in your listening and reading, but it can be beneficial to work on both of these separately as well. Many people say they have certain things they value, but their actions don't necessarily support this. You need to have your actions show that learning Japanese is something that's important to you. The only real way to make learning Japanese a habit is to do it often enough so that it just becomes something that you do. An easy way to do this is to link it to another activity. You could, for example, put some flashcards or list of words or a short text under your alarm clock. That way you can get started first thing in the morning.
Minasan, you all need more discipline!
You can also go over flashcards or read a bit before going to bed. It's best not to go through new material in a tired state though, so save that for earlier in the day. For most people, mornings are the only time that you have that you can be sure that you won't be interrupted. That's why you should make use of this time to learn Japanese. Work on texts, read or write or do whatever you deem your most important task. You can listen to Japanese when you're commuting or doing any other task that doesn't require your full attention. For learning new words, use a flashcard app on your phone like Anki, and always be sure to carry some reading material with you. You will probably be distracted when you first start doing this, but the more you do it, the easier it will become. To help remind you to make use of this extra time throughout the day, set reminders on your calendar to go off at certain times throughout the day when you estimate that you will have some time to do some studying. That way you won't forget and get carried away doing something else. Success is of course by no means guaranteed, so you need to make conscious effort to succeed. But many people have done it before you, and there's no reason why you can't achieve fluency as well. So take action immediately and put in reminders in your calendar for the whole year right now. That way you might annoy yourself enough to continue, even if you feel like not doing as much a few months from now. So in summary, start right this moment. Make sure you continue and put incentives in place to make sure you do the work.
Never give up!